want to just key out some of the things that we're trying to focus on about the portfolio. Hi, John.
Thanks for coming again on the show.
Yeah, certainly.
Rob's Director of Product Marketing and is responsible in our management, the management part of our organization. So,
Yeah.
Rob, how is VMware looking at management these days?
Well, there's a lot going on in management. We're seeing a lot of customers who are getting to that point with the journey, as we like to call it, in that second phase where management's critical. Things like just a larger environment, configuration management becomes more important. Obviously, automation is a critical theme, especially as you move to the cloud, where things like provisioning and some of the basic configuration and deployment of new systems when you do go forward with a self-service model become really important. So a lot of what we're doing is at the infrastructure and operations layer of management, really trying to, it's kind of counterintuitive, get rid of management, automate away the management. Salesforce.com talks about the end of software. We could, in some respects, that layer talk about the end of management, trying to just build management into the fabric.
Make the system smarter.
Yeah, and just sort of take the tasks that are sort of routine, provisioning and various other tasks, and just make it part of a scheduling problem, as we often say, and get rid of some of those tasks. So there's a lot that we're doing to try to do that. If you think about vSphere, a lot of management capabilities actually just get embedded into vSphere. Think about disaster recovery being automated. Think about distributed resource scheduling, where the notion a few years ago of moving a machine to another physical host was a pretty daunting task. Now we're doing that on an automated basis. And so the theme there is really sort of policy-based automation and trying to eliminate the management that's required to get a large number of systems up and running.
So management, it's really a pretty broad topic. And now you were right before we came on, you were saying, well, there's several tiers of management. So as we think about management, kind of a framework to talk about the different aspects of it, I think we've already mentioned some of them, but how do you divide up management tasks?
So the VMware strategy is really at three different layers. The infrastructure layer, we call it cloud infrastructure, and management as well, and that's really where a lot of our management today resides. And then we have the application platform, the cloud application platform, which is related to Spring and what we've been introducing with that acquisition, as well as a lot more sort of application provisioning and performance management with some of the other acquisitions that we've done. And increasingly that becomes important as customers are virtualizing some larger applications. And then there's the end user computing layer on top of that, sort of managing users and their information and not the devices themselves, which of course are proliferating with all the devices out there. And then there's a fourth category that we call IT business management, which is about really stitching it all together, the processes that are required to manage IT as a business, and increasingly IT is going to be a portfolio of services, from service providers as well as internally provided capacity and services from.
So you and your group, what you're doing spans all these layers.
Yeah.
When we say management, we mean
this
the
is
whole
really
thing.
VMware's overall management approach that spans these four layers. And so we're, as I said, have a lot of functionality and products capability at the infrastructure layer. Obviously, that's where we come from. We're increasingly extending to the operations teams that are becoming part of this converged fabric and the converged teams that need to manage that environment. And with the Spring acquisition, notions of embedding management into the applications themselves, things like auto scaling and provisioning with the application already instrumented for how it needs to be monitored. Some very interesting sort of bleeding edge concepts for for how to manage in this new environment.
Right. So in the keynote, Paul talked about the apps you already have, and those we all understand, and we have to manage those. But it sounds like some of our new cloud-based apps can start to know a little more about, be a little more operationally aware, and then the virtualization and infrastructure management platform becomes a little more app-aware too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you think about these new generation of applications that really will know that they're being virtualized, that they have these hooks into the vSphere platform and the virtualization layer, that they can do things that they otherwise couldn't do with the physical infrastructure. And so we'll have a seamless experience and really taking an evolutionary approach. We don't want to have only management for this new generation of applications, but obviously for existing applications, as well as seamless management across the applications in your data center as well as those that are at a service provider. So having common management, common security, et cetera, that spans a hybrid cloud environment.
So you talked about management and solutions from VMware starting to extend the operations space. Would you consider vCloud Request Manager one of the first steps there?
Well, there's a number of products in that area. vCloud Request Manager actually fits into the fourth category, one that might be new to a lot of VMware folks around IT business management. So vCloud Request Manager was introduced here at the show. It's going to be available shortly, and it builds on top of vCloud Director, helps to automate the provisioning of vCloud Director environments, and add some governance and control in terms of license allocation and standardizing the provisioning with some blueprints, as well as a number of things like that just streamline the provisioning process. So that's a very exciting new release, and that's coupled with chargeback, which is obviously highly related to self-service provisioning, making sure you have visibility to the cost of the environment, and a product that we acquired from EMC called Service Manager, which is a broader ITSM solution, all kind of fit within this ITBM category.
Gotcha. So as an IT implementer, some things I've had physical management back in the day, and now I start to have virtualization management tools. How should I try to start to understand and start to explain to my colleagues and my boss, how is virtualization management going to be different? What is VMware going to provide me? How is it going to relate to the existing management systems I already have? Kind of from the big picture down, how should I start to think about management from VMware?
We've been getting a lot of questions about that, especially as customers are starting to see virtualization as the primary view and priority in their data center as they expand the use of virtualization. They're thinking about the physical components that become a minority of their environment, and so can I have some visibility into physical components? One example of that is around compliance, where you really want an end-to-end view of compliance, and so you
must have an end-to-end view.
You must have an end-to-end view of compliance, absolutely, and so we have vCenter Configuration Manager, a product that we acquired from EMC, which gives you that view and that visibility. But ultimately, VMware is about enabling virtualization and the private cloud, and we really see the future where, if not most applications, almost all applications are virtualized. And so there's a need to have visibility into those adjacent physical components, but we're really focused on virtualization and the cloud. And our partnering strategy really hasn't changed. We still work with the broad ecosystem of management partners, provide the APIs, so if customers want to have use their HP or BMC or IBM or other tool that they use in their environment, they can get some visibility into the virtual environment. But fundamentally, we believe that management has to be automated and is going to accelerate dramatically and is changing pretty significantly as you move to a cloud environment. And so the traditional approaches really aren't going to, in terms of a static environment and not driven, automated changes driven by policy is really going to be limiting as customers move to a self-service environment, for example.
What are some of the misconceptions that virtualization admins have, or IT admins in general, about management, and as we're moving into a more virtualized environment or into hybrid clouds?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the misperceptions is that, kind of to the point we were just talking about, that they can take the approaches that they use in their traditional environment and physical environment and just port those over to a virtual environment. I think if you take that approach or that view, you're really not taking advantage of what virtualization can do. We feel like virtualization can fundamentally improve and change some of the processes. And one of the examples I'd call out there is around performance of an application of the virtualization layer, as well as capacity and the health of the environment. These are all highly interrelated in a virtualized environment. And so that's one of the reasons why we acquired Integrion recently, where this takes data from vCenter as well as from third-party management and monitoring tools and puts it all into a single place where it does some analysis of what's normal in the environment, what's the normal behavior, and establishes a baseline, and then starts with some pretty complicated algorithms and some science behind it, figure out what's deviating from normal. And so, some of the traditional definitions of management processes that we've had in the industry for some time are going to start to bleed together and change as you move to a virtual environment.
Well, where do people learn more about this? Certainly from the product level, we have evals on our management products. I don't know if we've announced when Integrion will be available soon, I assume.
Well, it's actually available now in the U.S. We're going through the acquisition, and in the other geographies we're rolling out soon, and so that's basically you can find out now about the product.
The product level, and usually on our product pages we have webinars and so forth to find out more. In terms about our bigger management picture, are there also some materials on our website, or if people want to read more about
there's
the management?
A solutions overview there. There's a solutions brief that walks through the 4 layers of management that I talked about. And you'll start to see more and more from VMware and some of the other areas that are maybe newer to VMware customers that primarily focused at the infrastructure layer. So a lot of exciting new developments, and expect to see a lot more from VMware in this space.
Great. Well, Rob, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.